Okay, guys, as we get into Exodus now, I want to set you up and prepare you for a couple of things. And one of those things is that the story is going to take a major shift. What has been a lot of fairly fast moving action throughout the book of Genesis, and then starts out the same way in Exodus, is going to really slow down when we get past Exodus chapter 20 and we get through the actual Exodus events. Moses is going to take the people of God into the wilderness and begin to instruct them. And those instructions are where things are going to slow down. You're going to notice, first of all, a lot of laws that are given that could be confusing to us today. You might have questions about how or do those apply to us today, and those are important questions that we'll attempt to guide you through. And then you're going to notice very, very detailed instructions about how to build the tabernacle, and then some more laws, and then the actual building of the tabernacle, which is going to repeat the very detailed instructions. And this is where a lot of people start to get kind of bogged down when attempting to read through the Bible. But let me encourage you, one, to keep moving, and to maybe even, if possible, pick up the pace when you hit those sections so that you don't get bogged down. But I also want to give you a framework for understanding what's going on. One, a principle that I want to repeat throughout this year that you need to understand is that the Bible is not written to you. It is written for you. A lot of the instruction that you're going to find, you're going to be going, how does this apply to me? And to some degree, the answer is going to be, it doesn't apply to you. It's not written to you, but it is written so that you could understand God's plan of redemption. And so there's important lessons to learn from even these very instructive parts of the Old Testament, specifically here, the first few books, as we look at Moses instructing the Old Testament Israelites. But in particular, when we get to Exodus and we begin talking about the tabernacle, there's a very important theme that's being picked up here that's going to come throughout the story of the Bible. And we have to go back to the first couple of chapters of Genesis to understand that. And what we find in the first couple of chapters of Genesis is that God is in communion. He is in relationship with man. He has a harmonious relationship. There's nothing between them. And that's the way God created man to live. But because of Adam and Eve's rebellion and because of our subsequent rebellion, we are separated from God. And so a major part of God's plan of redemption is to restore man back to harmonious relationship or communion with God himself. And the first major step that he takes is the tabernacle. The tabernacle is a place where God and man, who are separated by man's sin, can come and meet together. It's a place where God is going to tabernacle. He's going to take up residence with his people. And so there's very specific instructions because this is a very serious problem. And it's not a problem that's going to be solved in an easy way. And so God gives these very detailed instructions on how they're to build the tabernacle, how they're to enter into the tabernacle. And this will be his plan for meeting with his people throughout their time in the wilderness. And then when they move into the land, we'll see that the tabernacle gets replaced with the temple, which functions in a very similar way and has similarly very detailed instructions on how to build it. And the temple becomes the place where God meets with his people. And then we move into the new covenant, though, and in the new covenant, because of Jesus' death, burial, resurrection, and ascension, the Holy Spirit can come and dwell within us, and we become the temple. And that's the theme of the New Testament, that God dwells with man through making us the temple of the Holy Spirit. And then in the end of the New Testament, in the book of Revelation, we're told there's going to come a day when there's a new heaven and new earth, and God is once again going to dwell with man, similar to the way he did in the Garden of Eden, although only better. And God is going to once again move and live and be among his people the way he always intended them to be. So when you get to the tabernacle instructions, don't miss what God is doing. God is showing us how we can be with him again. And for that particular season, it was the tabernacle. For us today, we become the tabernacle or the temple. We become God's dwelling place. But we're all looking forward to a day when we will be with God in that holy new creation that we'll get to dwell with Him forever. And so I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions or need any help, please let me know how I can help.